Hey, Karen, you need a microphone.
Welcome, everyone. Woo! Well, way a little bit. Welcome to VISTE 2021. I am Karen Richardson, the Executive Director of the Virginia Society for Technology and Education, and I am more excited than you can imagine that we are back here in Roanoke again. A welcome to our folks here in the Washington Lecture Hall. Welcome to the folks who are throughout the conference venue, and a welcome as well to our virtual attendees. We're very excited about being able to offer these opportunities to folks both here face-to-face as well as our virtual audience. I don't have a whole lot to say other than we are excited to have you here. Connect with folks in the blue shirts if you have questions about things, but mostly really just have a great time celebrating educational technology and all the ways that we can learn, share, and grow together. VISTE could not do what it does without the support of our corporate partners, our sponsors, and our exhibitors. The exhibit hall opens tomorrow. It's full of great innovations and excitement. But for today, I would like to welcome Corey Gordon to the stage. He is from CDWG. They're our inaugural Diamond partner. You can find them both in the exhibit hall and upstairs in Shenandoah A throughout the conference. But I'd love Corey to just say a few words.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. How are you? It's so good to, for me? Was that? One, it's so good to be home back in Virginia. I am a Virginia native. I grew up here. I went to school here. I taught here. I was an administrator here in Virginia. So I'm so excited to be back here with all of you again. And on behalf of CDW, I would like to welcome you guys again to the conference. And we would like to give a very special thank you to Karen and Craig for, again, putting on an amazing event to where we can learn from each other and be exposed to more technology opportunities and hopefully foster new relationships and POCs with each other and expand our learning. I do want to leave you guys with two parts here today. In the age in which we live in that's become such a digital society, we must Maslow before we bloom. And I'll say that again. We must Maslow before we bloom. To Maslow is to ensure that we create environments where our little ones feel safe, important, connected, a sense of belonging, and we use the various modalities to help them create their purpose. Because we can use digital platforms and technology to help them find who they will become in the future. They don't have to define that now, but it's up to us to help guide them through that process. And to bloom is to use the various compensatory tools and systems such as Chromebooks and platforms to help drive instructional practices, enhance instructional delivery, and ensure that we have increased learning for our students. On behalf of our CDW team, my teammate just left. I was going to give him a little greeting, Doug. He's going to do some amazing presentations on esports. And esports is a great way to embody both Maslowing and blooming at the same time, because it helps create an environment where they're connected to their peer groups, but it also helps them see what their future pathways can be. And it has a great component of social emotional learning inside of it. So again, on behalf of CDWG, welcome to this year's iteration of the conference, and we're so happy to be here. Thank you.
So several years ago, we decided to sort of pivot with our Sunday spotlight and focus on I'll call it local talent. Virginia is an amazing place, and we all know that we bring keynoters in from around the world. We love doing that for Monday, but we felt like the Sunday Spotlight was a chance to say, look at the talent and excitement and innovation that we have here in our own state. So we've been fortunate to have a variety of Spotlight speakers. I'm really excited about introducing today's speaker. There is a sort of joke that goes around in Visti land that you want to be careful about sitting next to Karen Richardson at a meeting because she will find a job for you to do. I'm going to put a little tilt on that side. I'm just really fortunate to get to sit at a lot of amazing tables with amazing people. And this woman is one of them. I think I met her when she had just come into the state from Texas. I think she was in Petersburg in those days. We talked with 4-H. We had a great relationship around STEM and makey-makeys and so on and so forth. It has been wonderful to watch her bloom and grow, as it were. So it is my pleasure to introduce Amy Jackson. She is the Supervisor of Educational Technology and Programs in, the Arlington County Public, I didn't write that part down, in the Arlington County Public Schools. She was a Spotlight speaker for our virtual event last year, and I knew we had to get her up on this stage for our Sunday Spotlight. So if we could have a big Visti welcome, you all who are out in those satellites.
Let's see how many TikTokers in the room. Visti, how you feel? No, you didn't TikTok that right. Right? So if you're not a TikToker, you can't participate. And then after this, everybody needs to download TikTok, all right? You ready? Visti, how you feel? I feel great. All right, listen. I'm going to walk back and forth really fast a lot. So if you get seasick or dizzy, just like raise your hand and I'll pause, but I'm not gonna stop walking. I'm probably also going to stress sweat. It's a thing. I'm okay with it. So just don't mind me. I'm gonna keep pushing through. So as Karen said, I was definitely Karen a couple of years ago, and it has been a fantastic ride. I have gotten to do some things that I never thought I would get to do. I have met some amazing people. There is a saying that there is a seat at there's a seat at the table for everybody. And Karen does not care whose table it is. If she feels like you belong at that table, she's gonna bring you in and pull up a chair and make somebody scoot over so you can sit down. And that is what led me to be the kind of leader that I am, because I wanna always make sure that there's a seat at the table for everybody. So when Karen sent out a survey asking people who would be bold enough to start the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force, I signed up. I had been in Virginia, I think 3 months at that point. And Dr. Nikki Dowd and I started that task force, and we were full of ideas, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. We are still not so bright-eyed. She has finished her doctorate. I will defend my proposal on Wednesday. So this is a week of extreme things for me, so I'm excited. I have been in EdTech for 13 years by accident. I am a career switcher. I was never wanting to be a teacher. I wondered why people wanted to do that. Who would want to be in a classroom with kids all day? That just didn't seem like a thing. I wanted to go to law school, and I wanted to be an international business attorney so I could go all over the world and see all the fun things. But that did not happen because I had these people. And this kid right here is trouble. Always has been, always will be. He showed me a part of education that I had not experienced myself. The part of education where we don't like for kids to ask questions, and we want everybody to sit in a corner and be quiet and just take it. And so I became a teacher because I wanted kids like him in my classroom. I wanted kids who were going to question everything I did, who were going to ask me why they have to learn something, and they wouldn't just take because it's for a test. So I switched careers and I went to Fort Worth ISD. And one of the things that they did to get teachers to go to trainings is their technology department would give you tech. So every training you went to, they give you a piece of technology when you left. So I signed up for every training I could possibly go to before school, after school, in the summer. And the very first training that I went to was on Microsoft Word. I had been an executive assistant for 3 years before becoming a teacher. And so I helped him teach the class, and he gave me a flip video camera. Do y'all remember this? I still have it. I watch those videos sometimes because there's still videos of kids. I taught in a heavy ESL population school. And what I noticed is that those kids could not write on a piece of paper what they had learned, but if I gave them that video camera, they could show me what they knew. And they did it in such a way that it blew me away. And they would do it, I worked in Texas, and I can understand Spanish. I can't speak it because I did not ever try to speak. I can read and I can hear because I'm nosy. And those kids would record themselves in English or in Spanish, or sometimes in Spanglish, and it would just come alive. And so at that moment, I realized the way to become a great teacher was to infuse technology in my classroom, to take me out of the center of it, and to just be there to support them and to let them grow in it. And in Texas, the gifted side and special ed is under the same umbrella. They are not different departments because it's all one spectrum. And that is where I got my first taste of diversity, equity, and inclusion, because they really talked about making things accessible for all kids. And I thought about the fact that these three jokers right here were all completely different. This one is still super quiet and a nerd, and he's the easiest kid ever. The middle one, yeah, he's not so much. And the oldest one, he's the firstborn, so easy peasy lemon squeezy most days. They were all different. They all needed something different. And then I had the two miracle babies. So the miracle babies are the people who run my life. And they're the reason I have to keep doing trust falls so that I can afford shoes for them, because they have a shoe addiction. I don't know where they got it from. So as I have grown and watched how technology has infused, I've put a little piece of that into each one of them, but I've also put something into them that everywhere we go, we make it a little bit better. And so as a leader, I've tried to do that, and I have been fortunate enough to lead some amazing people who have allowed me to grow and sail forward as I led them. That is the biggest thing that I could have achieved. I have been a leader in education longer than I have been an educator. So I spent 5 years in the classroom. I have been a leader for 9 now. And the crazy part is that I have been a new leader more times than I have been a tenured leader, because I have this problem of moving. And so every 3 years, I start all over again. So leadership is always foreign to me because I'm learning a new system, new people, new ideas. And so I frequently have to deal with a thing called imposter syndrome. I did not know what it was called until this year. But what I did learn is that my imposter syndrome started here. My trust issues and my inability to really understand why things happen all started with a Jack in the Box, like most children. And they are currently at this point. That's my greatest fear. If you have been in leadership for any amount of time, you have had to go to a leadership retreat. Raise your hand if you've been to one of the leadership retreats in the woods. That was a whole thing. They would take people who barely got along in the city to the woods together to learn how to work together. You left that leadership retreat with a newfound knowledge of I hate these people and I never want to see them again. Because what you did is you all stood on that big old railroad tie with the ropes. And you had to decide how you were going to get from here to there, all succinctly moving. So, you'd start, and then somebody who didn't have good core strength or balance would fall off, and you'd have to go back. And so now you're frustrated because these people who you can barely trust with your pens also have no physical abilities and they're not athletic at all. And it's troubling, right? So I learned that leadership is toxic. It is bred in toxicity because it is a all boys club. And it's not a club that you can break into very easily. I have realized that in trying to break into the boys club, I have frequently wondered, am I really as good at this as I think I am? When people tell me I'm good at this, are they saying that because they're being kind? Are they saying that because it's the right thing to say in the moment? Is it a little white lie? Or am I really good at this? So when I found out that even Albert Einstein had imposter syndrome, I was like, I'll own it. It's good enough for Albert, it's good enough for me. But it makes you think, if someone who is coined as the smartest person in the world considered himself an imposter, what does that say about being cutting edge, about being a trendsetter or a groundbreaker? Albert Einstein was not part of the boys club. When Albert Einstein was alive, he believed in equity. He believed in doing the right thing by people, and it was not something that everybody in his generation thought should be happening. So I can imagine that Albert felt this way because he was not consistently fed into. And if you really drill down to what imposter syndrome is just basically perceived fraudulence. At any given moment, somebody's gonna bust into my office like the Kool-Aid man and be like, aha, knew it. You really don't know what you're doing. And I don't, most days, I promise you. I do not fake it till I make it. I definitely say, I don't know. I'll figure it out. If I don't figure it out, I'll make something up. I'm the boss. So when we think about imposter syndrome, I want to take you to how I got here. I always knew that I felt like I did not belong in a place, that I wasn't as smart as I needed to be. And this year, I went to my dream division. Arlington Public Schools is a place that I knew was going to allow me to do amazing things. And so when I got there, I am over EdTech and programs. That program was the virtual learning program. And so in my mind, in one of those moments of grandiose, I said, you know what? I know EdTech, I know leadership, I know building administration, I got this. So I was Covey, I was in there and I was crossing people over, shooting my shots, and yeah, I got my ball thrown way up into the stands because what I did not know was the systems that operated inside APS. So I can know everything in the world about how to be a great leader and how to run a school and how to do EdTech, but what I did not know was how to navigate the system that I was in. So every time I took a step forward, I had to take 2 steps back. So every day I went home and I thought, man, I should have been able to clean this entire system up in 2 weeks. I don't know what I was thinking. It was definitely that new job feeling where I was like, yeah. But I called my therapist on the way home because I was commuting back and forth between Arlington and Richmond. So I had lots of time to think about the things that I had felt every day. And so I called my therapist and I said, listen, I know that I have talked to you 2 times this week already, but you got a few minutes. And she said, absolutely. And so I told her what was going on and she said, I haven't wanted to give you a name for this because I did not want you to obsess over it. How she knew I was going to obsess over it, I don't know. I mean, like, what she gonna say? And she said, you have imposter syndrome. And I said, what? She's like, you just don't think that you're good. I was like, well, I mean, I'm okay. I mean, there's people better than me. I was like, there's some amazing EdTech leaders in this world, like in Virginia. She said, okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to go home tonight and you're going to Google imposter syndrome. You're going to learn all about it. And in 2 weeks, when we have our scheduled appointment, we'll discuss this. Hindsight, I realized that she did not want to talk to me anymore. So I went home, and as a good doctoral student, I started to research, and I cried for most of that night. Because I had a name for what I had experienced. And I had a way, a blueprint now, that I could navigate in it. So I thought to myself, I talk to myself a lot. It's probably why I have a therapist. What do you do with this? Like, how do you handle this? Because there are days that I know that I'm really good at my job. There's those days that I really feel like I'm doing amazing. And then there's days that I'm just like, I don't know who hired me or why they hired me, but got one over on them. So what I learned is that Drs. Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, they coined imposter syndrome in 1978, 2 years before I was born, because they knew I would need it in 2021. And basically, they were psychologists and psychiatrists. And what they found is that in high achieving women who were going into therapy, who had many credentials and certifications and degrees and experience, frequently felt as if they did not have the ability to actually do their jobs. Could you imagine living in a world where you have gone to college and you have graduated at the top of your class, you have gotten all the certifications you can possibly get, you are known as a master in your craft, and every day you wonder if you are actually doing a good job? According to research, about 45 of you in this room feel that way every day. And because we are teachers and we like data, these amazing people in 2019 surveyed 15,000 people to ask if they'd ever had imposter syndrome. I mean, yeah. But what they found, which I thought this was fascinating, between 9 and 82% of the participants said they had. But when they started to break down the data, the reason that it was so skewed is that it was high among ethnic minorities. It was prevalent among men and women, but for men, it was only prevalent the first month of their new positions. And I thought that was weird. I was like, why just a month? So as you start to research, you find out that the first month of a job is typically when you're learning the systems. And so you are always kind of wondering, am I doing this right? So once men get their stride, they no longer feel as if they're unable to do their job. That's what the research says, not me. But women and ethnic minorities throughout their career is just a persistent thing. Not just when they get a new job or a new promotion or they're given a task, it's all the time. adolescents to late stage professionals, depending on where you are in your career and who you are. I think a lot about all three of my older boys played football. The middle child probably never had imposter syndrome because he thinks that he can walk on water. The other two, I have definitely seen them struggle with. They are extremely talented and have gotten many awards and accolades. My oldest son was actually invited to the combine before COVID, and then COVID happened, so he didn't get to go. So he has the ability to do great things, but he always struggles with, is there somebody better than me? Which, I mean, in football, there is always somebody better, but not my son, because he's the best. And they better be glad that COVID happened, or else he'd be in the league right now, and I wouldn't be here. So he owes me a house. So what they also found was that imposter syndrome went with depression and anxiety. If you've ever read any research about teachers, we are the most depressed, anxious people on earth. I don't know why. I mean, it's not like we live in a high stakes environment where at any given moment, somebody's gonna come in and ask us what SOL 4.53 is, and if we taught it right, and if we taught the written and the unwritten curriculum, and if we assessed and did an exit ticket. And then how did you know that those kids got it? Did you not pull them into a small group and make sure that they had it? It's not like something like that happens at all. Or that kids take a test that's not even on their developmental level. That decides whether or not you're a good teacher or not, and if you get to keep your job, or if you have to go down and teach kindergarten. We don't have to deal with that kind of stuff because we're professionals. But it's also the reason that our health insurance is higher than anyone else's, because we have all of the underlying conditions of people who are anxious and depressed, like high blood pressure and mood disorders. I've never met a mood teacher. Don't know what you're talking about. So we're gonna play a little game. We're gonna play put your finger down, imposter syndrome edition. Do not put your hands up. Do this in your head. When I get to something that you have experienced in your life, I want you to just sit and process it for a second, okay? The inability to realistically assess your competence or skills. How many times, as a minority leader, or as a regular, just non-minority leader, or just a human, has somebody told you you were really good at something and you're like, we call it being humble, right? But is it? Is it really being humble? You attribute success to external sources and other factors. So not the old thing of if something happens, my team did really well, but if something bad happened, then I did that, right? Not that thing, but like the only reason that was good was because of this person. Like you had nothing to do with it. Berate your performance. So if you have spent longer than 3.5 minutes with me, I use humor as a coping mechanism. I like my humor dark, like I like my chocolate. So don't sit next to me if you're easily offended. Also have foot and mouth syndrome. Working on it. But I frequently berate my performance, frequently. People will say, you did an awesome job. Like after this, I'll spend the next 30 minutes talking about all the things I could have done better in this performance. So me and my imposter syndrome will be in the bathroom if you need it. Fears that you won't live up. When I got hired in Arlington, they did something that was super amazing. They told me that they had never seen it before, but out of my big old panel of people that interviewed me, every last one of them chose highly recommended. Right? Until you have to go to work every day. Because that means that all those people that sat on that panel think that I'm highly qualified to do my job and highly recommended me unanimously, and I can't let any of them down. So I carry this extra burden every day where, I mean, if I trip up the stairs, which is likely to happen, I'm like, they are definitely gonna think that I am, don't even know why I'm here today. But you always have that fear, like, I'm not gonna live up to the hype. Overachieving. I mean, I just put Amy right there, that's all I have to do is just say Amy, and I have to say overachieving. I mean, I am literally, at one point in my life, I was getting my doctorate, starting a business, raising 5 children, going through a divorce, trying to solve world hunger, breaking barriers. Like, it's just like, people are like, how are you doing all that? And like this summer, when I had some time off, I was like, I should write a book. And then I was like, what? Yeah, no, I was like, yeah, there's something wrong with me. Sabotaging your own success. I have done this. Everything is going great. And I'm like, if I just poke this bear a little bit. It's like, am I the trauma? I'm not the trauma. Self-doubt. And then creating challenging goals that lead to disappointment. I told myself I'd be able to clean a program in 2 weeks. And then was disappointed when I didn't do it. Imagine that. So we wonder, so this is how it manifests, how imposter syndrome looks in minorities, women, some men. So I wondered, where did imposter syndrome start? Like, I couldn't just all of a sudden become an imposter. I mean, this isn't Among Us. It's not like I started the simulation and they're like, you're the imposter. So, as all good psychotherapists found, it's your parents' fault. I was like, dang, parents can't get away with nothing. But what they say is that if your parents were high achieving, or they had high standards for you, then that's where it starts. You are wanting to always please people. So think about those little girls and little boys in your classroom who are consistently trying to please you. And no matter how much you tell them to be creative, they want you to tell them exactly how you want them to fill in this thing. Because they don't want to feel like they're not good enough, right? They want to know exactly what you want so they can do exactly what you want, so then you can be proud of them. All right, I didn't need to know it. So, in looking at imposter syndrome, I started to think about it from the lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion. If they're saying that this is minority issue, why? Why do minorities have this issue? What's going on in EdTech that we have this issue? Really, technology? All right. Because I'm an EdTech leader. So I was in a meeting with my supervisor and all of the supervisors and specialists. And we were talking about this Google form that she had created. And I said, well, you know, if you want, I can fix it for you. She said, you can do Google Forms? I was like, hello, Imposter Syndrome. It's me again. I was like, yeah, I'm actually good at this. Let me help you. But what I found in looking at Imposter Syndrome in EdTech leaders is that it was not a glass ceiling that we were coming up against. It was what they call the cement ceiling. What it means is that for every piece of the ceiling that we break, for every systemic issue that we tackle, there's another one that shows up. So as a Black woman, I am a Black woman, that's why I'm talking from this perspective. As a Black woman, I first have to deal with sexism. And then I have to deal with racism. And so I have to make sure that as I am navigating the EdTech leadership landscape, I'm very careful about how I do that. So one of the things that I decided to do, because I like to get my feelings hurt, is I decided I was going to sit down, I was going to go to VDOE's website, and I was going to look at every district's organization chart. I was going to find out who all the EdTech leaders were, male and female tech directors, and I was going to put them all on my slide deck. I got through the A's and was like, so yeah, we're just not out here, huh? Just not a lot of women in the world in a female-dominated profession in leadership. That's not true. What I also noticed is that if a position was a director level position, 90% of the time a man sat in that seat. And that if a woman was over an entire tech department, she was a supervisor or a specialist. She was not a director. It's very few and far between. Shout out to Crystal Pearson. Shout out to Loudon's all-girl team. But very few and far between. And it shouldn't be all-girl teams or all-boy teams. It should be representative of what Virginia education looks like. But if you've looked at what Virginia education looks like, not very diverse at all. And they're not doing very much about it to make it diverse. So that's where we come in. That's where we have to decide that we aren't going to shrink anymore. That we aren't going to just sit back and watch as the tides go by. I have this quote in my daughter's Trapper Keeper. She actually has a Trapper Keeper this year. It was like a bonding moment. She didn't care. But I wrote this in there and I put it inside so it wouldn't fall out because I wanted her to carry this because I felt it was important. We teach girls to shrink themselves, to make themselves smaller. We say to girls, you can have ambition, but not too much. You should aim to be successful, but not too successful. Otherwise, you would threaten the man. And in this context, she was talking about man in general. But in my context, I'm talking about the system. I'm talking about deciding between the red pill and the blue pill. Because it's time for us to break out of it. It's time for us to say, I'm not shrinking anymore. I will be your stereotype, but I'm going to be a badass when I do it. I'm gonna have on a kick-ass pair of shoes, and I'm gonna make you respect me because I know my craft. Because that is the only way for us to truly break a system apart We cannot wait for people to value us and see us as equals, because we will never be equals. That was not how we were created in the system or in society. So we cannot wait for that. We have to show up, we have to show out, and we have to be very, very demanding. That is how minorities are going to change the landscape of EdTech leadership in Virginia and in the United States, because it's not going to happen with us being nice. It's going to happen with us demanding a seat at the table. By every time one of us sits at it, we say, I'm bringing 2 more minorities with me to sit at this table with me, so you hear the voice of what people around you are saying. Research shows that minorities bring lived experience instead of practicality or theory to every situation that they encounter. And we all know that lived experiences beats theory every day of the week. Because I can give you Kagan and tell you to implement it in your classroom. But if I don't tell you how to build a relationship with a kid, it doesn't matter how many call and responses you do, that kid is still not going to answer, right? So it's the same thing. We can't keep playing by the same rules, because the rules have only gotten us this far. So I think about this. As women, we hit 3 stereotypes. We're angry and bossy. We're cute and ditzy. Or we're the figureheads, diversity hire, right? Well, I believe that someone once said, well-behaved women rarely make history. And so I strive every day to not behave. I am rough around the edges because I have to be, because I'm a girl playing in a boys' game and I can't be soft. I can be caring, I can be compassionate, I can be all of the qualities of a great leader, but still stand my ground. Because when we come to being a leader, it's not about people liking you. It's about people understanding that you are coming from the perspective of you're going to protect your people that you lead. You're going to have students' best interest at heart, and that you are going to do what is best for everyone, not just yourself. I am frequently told, I don't see how you do it. Well, you come to work and you have on a pair of 4-inch heels. You know why I have on a pair of 4-inch heels? Because I work in the office. Because I don't fight bulls. Because I'm not on the basketball team. Because this is the uniform. And just like you can wear khakis and a blazer and a pair of loafers, I can wear a silk dress and a pair of heels. My heels do not determine what is in my head. Because trust me, if push came to shove, I can run in these. And if I can't run in them, I know how to take them off and run. I grew up in the country. A little dirt on my feet ain't gonna hurt. So I have frequently been told, oh, you're just so cute. I've also been told I'm a bulldog. And I will bite if I need to. Because I want people to understand I am going to do what's best. I am a maverick. Just like a man in my position with my same qualities would be called a maverick, so am I. Because I'm going to be bold and daring and unapologetic in the way that I lead my team to success for kids. The end. And anybody who stands in the way of me doing what is best for kids in the EdTech landscape has a fight on their hands, because I am small and I am fiery. And that rough around the edges comes in handy. So as leaders, if you have been in education for any amount of time, they have talked about failing forward. You've read a John Maxwell book probably more times than you care to. There are benefits to those books. John Maxwell states that failure is a part of success, right? And that good leaders should strive for failure. John Maxwell also owns his own company. Do not go to work on Wednesday and say that you are striving for failure because you will be unemployed. All right, don't do it. It's not worth it. So, you guys have heard these two things, right? Growth mindset. How can you have a growth mindset when a system is built against you? I go into each day understanding that the terrain that I walk and that I have to navigate is set up in a way that I have to learn how to walk in so that I am successful. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much work we've done towards diversity, equity, and inclusion, I am still a Black woman in a white male-dominated field. And that I don't want to be the angry Black woman. I don't want to be the bobblehead. I want to be a valued member of the team. So I have to go in every day knowing that I have to be really good at this. But I still get sucker punched every now and again. Because if you are a woman in EdTech or a minority in EdTech, when you start a new job, or you encountering the people, they like to use all of the EdTech acronyms that they can think of, right? They want to ask you about all the policies and procedures and systems and processes, and you need to know every educational technology application because that's what's going to show that you have value, right? And I always tell people when they ask me, well, do you know such and such? No, I don't. I don't use it and have to use it, but if I need to, I can learn how to use it. That's the beauty of life. I don't have to know everything. As a new leader, you don't have to know everything. You can't know everything because that's how life works. If we all knew everything, it would be a lot easier to take tests and we'd all be A students, right? So I think that as minority leaders, we would love to fail forward. But when we fail forward, and we are okay with knowing that in order to be successful, I have to fail. It is hard to do that when you know that people are watching to see if you really know what you're doing. Because every failure, every misstep you make makes you feel like somebody's saying, aha, you really don't. But that's life. And I have to tell myself every day, the one thing I took out of John Maxwell's Spelling Forward book was that he gives himself a fail quota every day. This PowerPoint has exceeded my fail quota for the day. So it'll be about 45 minutes that me and my imposter syndrome now have to talk. But every day I step into work and I tell myself I have 3 things I can fail at. And then on my board, when I walk into work, it says, give yourself the same grace you give everybody else. Because I do not give myself grace or mercy. So, you take nothing from John Maxwell, take that it is okay to fail, even as a minority leader, even as a new leader. If you don't fail, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, there's no need for you to be here. We don't need more of the same. We need people who are willing to shut it down. So, and one of my very good friends, Julia Mallory, she is the founder of Black Mermaids. And she has this quote, and it says, an easier assignment isn't coming, do your work. It's not gonna get any easier. It's not gonna change overnight. Every day I have to do my work. I have to do my physical work, my mental work, I have to do my emotional work because I have to keep me in check so that I can keep others in check. If you, shameless plug for my friend, if you would like to see more of Julia's work, she has tons of items on her website, blackmermaids.com. And tomorrow I will have on one of her shirts. Find me if you want to see it. But we need to fight the good fight, right? So as leaders, you may not be coming to my 3:30 session, so I'm going to give you a little tidbit. We have to be masters of our craft. You have to be you. You have to have a circle of trust. When you are a master of your craft, you are not being aggressive. You are not being arrogant. You are being confident in your abilities as a leader and as a person in your experience level. I paid her, don't worry. You are smarter than you think. You are stronger than you know. That is like a quote, but I can't find it, and who knows who said it, but if copyright people are watching, I just tried to cite. That's my biggest fear writing my dissertation, is that 15 years down the road, somebody's gonna come back and be like, I said this, and you didn't cite me, and then I'm not a doctor anymore. And so I'm anxious about something that possibly could happen 15 years from now. So my reference pages are 20 pages long. I have like 300 references, because if somebody almost said it, I cited them. Being you, be unapologetically you. I do not like wearing blazers. I think I look like a middle linebacker in them, and they're just not my thing. But as a new leader in a school district in Virginia, I won't say their name, but it was in Central Virginia. If you follow my career, you know what I'm talking about. I was told one day, a news station wanted to interview me, and I was told that I could not do the interview unless I went and bought a blazer, because a blazer would show authority and that I was a leader. So I went to all the stores and I checked all the pockets of all the blazers for audacity. Because that's obviously what was in the blazers. And authority, it is not in the blazers. So if you're looking for it, they're not in the blazers. I don't know what section that those come in, but I did not do the interview because I was not gonna wear a blazer. Because that's not who I am. I wear blazers at work sometimes when I want to, and when I have found one that suits me. But my knowledge does not change because I put on a jacket. I have seen rock star teachers. It still amazes me to this day. Miss Rosa Garcia, she used to wear, no lie, 5-inch heels in her classroom. She taught 2nd grade all day long. It blew my mind. I was like, how in the world? I have seen teachers show up in jeans and a school t-shirt, because God forbid that you have on anything other than a school t-shirt or a college t-shirt with a pair of jeans in education, because then you really aren't a teacher. I have seen them rock out. Being you is about being comfortable in your own skin. It is a hard place to get to. I am still trying to get there. I will let y'all know if I finally achieve standing in who I am all the time. But every day I get a little closer because I own me all the time. I am not soft and caring all the time. My dad was a Marine. So, and we weren't huggers in my family. But I know how to be gentle and caring with people. That is who I am. I will give you the shoes off of my feet. I will give you the shirt off of my back. I will share all of my candy with you. I will not let you use my colored pens on my desk. Come with your own pen. Teachers, don't bring pens back. Circle of trust. Get you some people. Get you some people who will hold you accountable all of the time. I have a group of girlfriends who, when I am right, I am the rightest of rights on earth. And when I am wrong, I do not like them at all. They will call me to the carpet and tell me about myself in a loving and caring way, but they keep me grounded. Your circle of trust will change as you grow in leadership. Everybody doesn't want to see you succeed. So you can't take everybody with you, and your circle has to change. But the most important thing that you can have is that circle of trust. So, as I worked in several districts and several leadership capacities, from reading specialist to instructional coach, system principal, academic dean, assistant director, principal, whatever I do now, I think is supervisor. Some days I'm like, I don't know. I have found that there are soft spots. Look for the soft spots and tackle those first, because those are easy pickings. That is why animals go for the eyes. And then move on to the hard parts. So I'm going to leave you with the words of Andre DeShields, because I want it to permeate your soul so that you understand that you are more than enough in who you are as a minority leader, as a non-minority leader, as a teacher, as an EdTech leader, as an EdTech person. You are more than enough in everything you do. And winning is always relative. I'm definitely winning more like, what's his face?
Surround yourself with people whose eyes light up when they see you coming. 2, slowly is the fastest way to get to where you want to be. And 3, the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next, so keep climbing.
Thank you all for having me. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you, Karen Richardson, for allowing me to sit next to you and go on this amazing ride.
Bring it on. Thank you again. I think it was of humor.
There's still some conference to go, folks. Thank you.
Please check out Shenandoah B 2:15 to 3:15. I believe there's a basketball throwing robot that shall be there with some kids with it. We will have children coming in via Zoom. We have a chick coming in via the robot as well who will be rolling around. So come talk to some kids. Go see Amy. Have a great rest of the conference, folks. Thanks so much for coming.